which is I feel like is aggressive on offense. And then my teammates doing a great job of getting me the ball, screening, coach drawing up plays for me, and giving me the opportunity.
The Indiana Fever bounced back in a big way with a crucial win over the Atlanta Dream. A victory that came at the perfect time for a team in need of momentum, confidence, and cohesion. From the opening tip, it was clear that this game meant something to every player wearing a Fever jersey. The synergy was visible, the energy was high, and the effort was unmistakable. Kelsey Mitchell led the charge with a commanding 25-point performance, shooting an efficient 55% from the field, and her presence was felt in every phase of the game. What separates Kelsey from so many others in the league is her consistency, not just in one quarter or one half, but across the full 40 minutes. She's not a volume scorer who needs 25 shots to get going, she's a rhythm shooter, who can make big plays in crucial moments and quietly stack up points with pace, precision, and skill. While Caitlin Clark didn't have her best shooting night, going just 5-4-17 from the field, she once again proved that her value extends far beyond the box score. She finished with 9 assists and was constantly collapsing the defense with her penetration. Every time she dipped into the paint, the Atlanta defenders reacted with urgency, often sending multiple bodies her way, which opened up high-percentage looks for her teammates. Clark's passing instincts were sharp and reactive. She played the game like a quarterback, reading defensive coverages, finding open shooters and cutters the moment a seam was exposed. Despite her shooting struggles, Clark maintained her composure, and it's worth noting that the majority of her missed shots were close, rolling off the rim. Just a tad long, or slightly short. These are not wild misses or signs of broken mechanics, just a temporary shooter's slump that every player, even stars, must endure. Kelsey Mitchell went through it. Now it's Clark's turn. The important thing is that Clark is continuing to impact the game in a multitude of ways, from passing and pushing the pace, to rebounding and reading the defense. Her ability to influence the outcome even when her shot isn't falling is what makes her a franchise-altering player. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham was the unsung hero and arguably the game's MVP, finishing with 16 points and an eye-popping 10 rebounds. Her motor, hustle, and aggression were pivotal in the Fever's third-quarter surge and fourth-quarter finish. It wasn't just her scoring that impressed, but her relentlessness on the boards, her attention to detail on defense, and her timely shooting that broke the Dream's defensive gamble wide open. Cunningham's energy plays, like grabbing an offensive rebound and bouncing it off a defender to save possession, sparked the entire team and gave the Fever the kind of second-chance opportunities they've struggled to generate in past games. Her ability to capitalize when defenders sagged off was key, and she punished Atlanta from deep with confidence. When role players like Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, and Ari McDonald are knocking down shots, this Indiana Fever team becomes exponentially more dangerous. Defenses often choose to live with open looks from the supporting cast, prioritizing coverage on Clark and Mitchell, but when those gambled shots are converted, when Sophie hits threes, when Lexi splashes corner jumpers, or when Ari drills a spot-up shot in rhythm, it forces the opposing team to completely rethink their defensive scheme. Those extra buckets, born from ignored shooters proving themselves, open the floor for everyone. And that's what happened tonight. The Dream gambled, and the Fever made them pay. On the defensive end, the Fever did just enough to neutralize Atlanta's interior attack. A welcome surprise given Indiana's usual struggles in the paint. Typically, players like Cheyenne Parker and Brianna Jones feast on the Fever's soft interior. But tonight was different. Jones was held to just 6 points and 4 shot attempts. The interior rotations were crisp. Help defense came on time. And even when the perimeter was shaky in the first half, particularly when Jordan Canada exploded for 26 first-half points, the Fever never broke. Yes, Jordan went nuclear early, draining tough jumpers, floaters, off-balance fadeaways, and deep threes. She looked poised to hang 40, but the Fever adjusted in the second half, limiting her to under 5 points. The rest of the way, that's the sign of a team capable of learning on the fly, making halftime adjustments, and locking in when it matters most. The early defensive lapses, including open threes for Ryan Howard in Canada, were corrected with tighter closeouts and smarter switching schemes after halftime. Interior defense remained the stabilizing force throughout, allowing the perimeter defenders to gamble less and play with more structure. Aaliyah Boston was critical in both areas, anchoring the paint defensively and acting as a playmaker. Offensively, she finished with 8 assists, combining with Clark for 17 total. a stat that showcases the growing trust between the Fever's inside-outside duo. Boston's improved mid-range jumper and growing willingness to take outside shots has become a real asset. She hit a 3 and multiple mid-range jumpers tonight, punishing defenders who sagged off her in pick-and-pop actions. And when she had the ball in the high or low post, she made crisp, quick decisions, including one gorgeous assist to Aaliyah McDonald on a backdoor cut. Plays like that show just how far Boston's playmaking has come since her rookie season, and her ability to pass from the post now makes her not just a scoring threat, but a hub for facilitating offense. Speaking of Aaliyah McDonald, she continues to shine in her backup guard role, maintaining pace, playing disruptive defense, and hitting open looks when defenders collapse. She's proven herself capable of pushing the tempo in Clark's absence, and continuing the flow of the offense without a significant drop-off. And while the Fever still face challenges with consistency, what's undeniable is how much better this team looks when they're getting contributions from all 5 players. On the court, look at Caitlin Clark again, even on a tough night shooting, pulling defenders away from the action and finding the open woman, like when she drove baseline, pulled 2 defenders, and dished it to Demiris Dantas for a wide-open 3. That's impact, that's gravity, that's basketball IQ. Every time she drives, defenses panic, and teammates benefit. Another key moment was Clark's hesitation move on the wing. A perfect blend of pace, control, and strength, freezing her defender, then exploding to the rim for a tough layup through contact. Her body control and strength are improving every game, and those tough finishes through contact are no longer surprising. She's adjusting to the physicality of the WNBA and embracing the contact rather than shying away. That's evolution. That's maturity. That's what fans want to see from a No. 1 overall pick. And let's not forget her off-ball IQ, using screens, relocating, and running plays with Boston as the handler. Like the beautiful Gavango where Boston hit Clark, cutting for a layup. These are glimpses of what the Fever can be when their 2 stars work in tandem, not just trading possessions, but playing 2-woman game basketball that picks apart defenses. Later in the game, Kelsey Mitchell continued her steady brilliance, hitting a series of tough drives, slicing through the defense, and converting acrobatic finishes at the rim. She's simply unguardable when she gets downhill, and her balance of speed and control makes her a mismatch for most defenders. And while Mitchell is often labeled a pure scorer, her ability to play off the ball has improved, allowing Boston and Clark to serve as primary facilitators while Mitchell moves into scoring pockets. The possession where Boston set a pin-down screen after passing to Mitchell, freeing her up for a clean look, was textbook execution, and a sign that the Fever are finally running structured, effective offensive sets with purpose. The Fever, as a whole, played with discipline and pace in the second half, locking down defensively, pushing the ball in transition, and avoiding empty possessions. And once again, it all came back to effort, to Sophie Cunningham diving for loose balls, to Lexi Hull fighting over screens, to Clark playing through fatigue and not letting a rough shooting night change her demeanor. This wasn't just a win on the scoreboard, it was a win in identity. The Fever proved they can weather hot shooting from opponents, stay composed, adjust at halftime, and get contributions from their entire rotation. They proved that they don't need Clark to be perfect to win, they just need her to be present, aggressive, and engaged, which she was. And they proved that when their role players hit open shots, the offensive ceiling rises dramatically. Defenses can no longer sell out on Mitchell and Clark if Sophie, Lexi, Ari, and Dantas are punishing them from deep. Tonight was the formula. Control the paint, stay connected defensively, get Boston involved early, let Mitchell cook, and let Clark run the show, not necessarily as the top scorer, but as the tempo setter, the orchestrator, the difference maker. As the Fever now look toward building playoff momentum, games like this will serve as the foundation, not just because they won, but because of how they won, as a team.
You expend a lot of energy making that comeback. How do you kind of refocus, get your body right, and get ready to turn it around and play less than 34 hours later?
Yeah, just
Kelsey Mitchell found herself with just enough room to drain a clean 3-point jumper, and it was one of those plays that represents the ideal vision of what the Indiana Fever could be when every player is operating within her unique zone of strength. Aaliyah Boston facilitating from the high post as a decision-making hub, Kelsey Mitchell playing off the ball where she thrives, and Caitlin Clark orchestrating everything like a maestro with court vision that borders on clairvoyance. That moment was emblematic of a team finally returning to its core identity after struggling in previous outings to establish rhythm. synergy, and positional clarity. Then came a sequence that highlighted everything Fever fans love to see: Clark pushing the ball up the floor in transition and delivering a crisp pass to a backdoor cutting Mitchell, who has made a career off her ability to slither into seams. Behind the defense, Clark, ever aware, will always reward intelligent movement. And Mitchell's ability to time those cuts perfectly is a thing of beauty when it all clicks. Plays like that weren't just individual highlights. They were glimpses of a larger shift, a team beginning to understand who it is again, reclaiming the blueprint that defined their mid-season surge, one predicated on Caitlin Clark running the point rather than being stationed like a stationary shooter in the corner. A misuse that baffled observers and limited the team's ceiling. It was apparent that Indiana had studied film and made conscious decisions to play to their personnel's natural strengths. Yet, on the defensive side, they continued daring Jordan to shoot, a decision that backfired as Jordan repeatedly knocked down open looks with confident rhythm, seemingly shocking the Fever into recognition only after the halftime break, when it finally dawned on them that she had already stacked 26 points. Her early explosion caught the defense flat-footed, treating her like a rotational role player, rather than the scoring machine she had revealed herself to be that night. And that underestimation forced a second-half adjustment. Still, Indiana didn't unravel. Caitlin Clark drove hard into the paint, forcing the defense to collapse, and then calmly kicked it out to Boston on the perimeter, who sank a wide-open three, a shot defenses are still willing to concede, though probably not for long. Boston's willingness and ability to shoot from distance is key to the evolution of this Fever team. As she continues to stretch the floor, defenders will eventually have to honor her shot, pulling them away from the paint and unlocking more driving lanes for Clark, more space for cutters like Mitchell and Smith, and more freedom for Sophie Cunningham to roam as a secondary sniper. In the third quarter, Caitlin finally knocked down her only three of the night. And though the shot didn't break her overall shooting slump, it came at a critical juncture. Sayo found her in the corner, and Clark nailed a tough look that kept the Fever within striking distance when it felt like the Dream might run away with the momentum. This shot steadied the team psychologically, shifting the emotional tide just enough to stop the bleeding. Shortly after, Aaliyah Boston re-established